This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hello, my friend. This is Isabel Melgarejo, your host, and this is A Time to Care, the Caregivers podcast. Today, it is session number 3 on a series of 5 where I'm talking about important things to consider for the care of your loved one. And today, we're going to be talking about home arrangements. So, hey, let's get started. This is so important. Where we live. I was talking with a friend. It's been a while, but she was talking about this astrocartographer. She was mentioning how different places make you feel about your life, and different places bring different energy to you. And I don't know if you believe in these kind of things or not, but I do believe that there are places in which we feel more comfortable and in places where we are happier than in others. And I think this is very important when we are providing care for someone that we love, because we want to spend our time in a place that brings us a lot of joy, that brings us a lot of good energy, where we feel comfortable, where we feel at home. That is why I wanted to talk about this. Oftentimes, we just consider the basics of home arrangements, and we don't consider either that part for ourselves as caregivers, and we don't consider other things for our loved ones. It's just comfortable. This is a really good facility, but what if we want a facility that we want less rooms and more personalized care? Or maybe we want a bigger place with a lot of activities. I don't know. We're going to dig deep into this. This is exciting. So what are the things that we need to consider when we are talking about home arrangements? I think the first one is to understand where we want to live, in which city, in which area of town. Just this morning, I was talking with my husband about my mom still staying in the home where we grew up, being a huge home for her. And I've talked this topic with her several times because she's been talking about aging in place in that home. And I know that home won't provide her with everything she needs if she loses mobility or if she needs a lot of care, because there is no one bathroom in which she could avoid some steps. So that is not an option. If she wants to leave her home, there are stairs. If she wants to, whatever she wants to do, there are steps. So I know that's not a home for someone who wants to age in place without mobility. That's not feasible, period. We have to consider these kinds of things. And it is very important to know what we want. What are the things that we want to in our lives? It is very important to understand what we want as a person and what we need as a person. And also, it is important to consider what you need as a caregiver and your options as a caregiver, like what works for you as a caregiver as well. Obviously, there are two ways of doing this. We can either age in place or not. If we decide to age in place, so what are the things that we need to consider? I think it is very important to understand what are the risks and what is out there? What are the options? As I mentioned, for the most part, if we're going to age in place, we will need home modifications. Even if it's not aging in place, even if you're taking care for a loved one who will need care for a long period of time, if you're caring for someone with cancer, for example, maybe that person will need a special bed. So it is very important to understand what is required of the environment in which we are. It is very important to consider those things and make them part of the environment. I don't think builders are building houses for anything. They are building houses that just fit a family in with a certain amenities in a home, but we are not thinking while we're building a house about how that house is going to impact anybody in that home. When we were looking for a home, I made this comment to every single builder, which were more than 10 builders. None of them were paying attention to me. That they were only putting one shelf for beauty products in a bathroom. And that is not enough. Sorry, that is not enough. I am very scarce with the amount of products that I put on me. It is not enough. And this is a bathroom for a regular home. What are my expectations for someone on a wheelchair? A lot of houses don't have big enough doors to fit a wheelchair. A lot of homes don't have flat enough area for a wheelchair. We are not paying attention to any of this. So it is important to start thinking about what our loved ones and what we will require in the future. Because if we do it today, it will help us prevent the future. It will help us prevent accidents. It will help us prevent complications in the future. When we know where we want to live, one of our basic needs has already been covered. But we need to think what we need, what we exactly need from our environment to live comfortably. I want you to make a list of things that you know that you will require. So if you're buying a home, you have this list of things that you need. You know how many rooms, you know the sort of kitchen, you know if you're someone who cooks often at home, you might want to have a lot of cabinets where you can put all your things and all your kitchen appliances. If you're someone who's outdoors, maybe you want a big yard. If you have pets, you want a space for your pets. If you have kids, you want rooms for your kids. How many bathrooms? All of this is important. So the same happens with our loved ones. We need to understand what are their needs. If we're going to need ramps or stair lifts, if we're going to need to redo a bathroom, what is the sort of lighting? If our loved one has hearing impairments, what are we going to put to make it easy for our loved one to hear if there's someone on the door? This is very important. It is important to consider who's going to be part of that caregiving journey, who's our team. It's not the same caring for someone whose requirements are not full-time to caring for someone who needs help 24/7. And having access to that help is crucial. When we know that someone can get to this place easily, gives us a lot of peace of mind. So I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of senior living are near hospital areas. This is because they have access to doctors and hospital and healthcare fast enough to take your loved one there. So that's important for you as well. You have to consider what is the sort of care that you will require and know if you're going to be able to access that care easily. So pay attention to that. I remember my parents when we were really young and they used to talk about other cities and moving. My parents decided never to move because my sister was diabetic. And if she were to require a doctor, some of the places that they had considered didn't have good healthcare services. And that would put in risk my sister's life. That was something that they always thought about, having access to healthcare. And if we're caring for someone who's requiring some sort of healthcare, then we need to consider that. Where is this care coming from? And it has to be all the way around. We need to think about emergency systems, hospitals, daily living assistance. Like if someone is going to come and help, is it accessible or not? Putting this into perspective, it's also important to know who's going to be part of this team. And I've been talking about this over and over and over, and I won't get tired of talking about building a team of people that will bring completeness to our care process. When we build communities, it is also important for us and for our loved ones to have a community. It is important that they have either access to community programs or technology that will allow them to be close to their loved ones. We have talked about this in the past. We have talked about bringing technology into our system so we can connect with each other. And it is important as well to have face-to-face conversations and activities and fun with our community. I won't get tired of repeating these because the part of community is essential for all of us. And we often forget about us being social beings and living in a community. We need to consider that when we're thinking about where we want to live. Of course, we have the financial considerations. You can go to Let's Get Legal episode of this podcast, and you can listen to what are those financial considerations when you're moving someone and what you can do to prevent these sort of things. To prevent financial risks, I would say. Finally, what is the mental and emotional health? What are the access of this home to bringing peace and joy to you? About a year and a half ago, I was in a program for entrepreneurs, and one of the things that the coach was telling us was to clear our space, to declutter our areas, to get rid of things that don't bring joy anymore. And I can talk about this a lot. As a professional organizer, I can talk about this on and on and on. And I want to talk about this today because oftentimes we are surrounded by things that we don't like or we're just keeping because what ifs. What if we needed? Mostly that's the reason why we keep things. What if we need it in the future? What if we're just being wasteful? I don't know. There are so many ways and so many reasons why people just hold on to things that they don't necessarily love in their lives. This is a crucial part because having our home cluttered with things that we don't like is really tough and it's energy draining. And I think we can do better. I think we can actually start thinking about the things that we want in our lives and letting go of those that don't have any purpose. Especially as we grow older, we accumulate so many things. So many things. We can do better. We can decide to let go of things that can help somebody else and just keep those that bring us joy every single day. So what are you going to let go of today? Honestly, just go around your home, see what's there. If there's anything that has been bugging you, a broken something, I don't know, a broken chair or an old something, go through your kitchen Are there any appliances that you haven't used in a very long time? Just walk around and let go of things that don't serve any purpose to you anymore. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure recording this episode. I would like to invite you to our free webinar. You can scroll down on the show notes and get the information for our webinar there, and you can join us. Also, as I mentioned before, we did some significant changes to our program, and I would like to share them with you. So grab a slot with me and let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you can build the caregiving life that you've always dreamed of, how you can invite others to participate in this journey, how you can hire either physically or like by paying money or not, but hiring more people to help you. Let's get this done. Let's make this process easier for you. Get a slot on my calendar and let's talk. Talk to you next week.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.